Welcome to Dark Loops, The Lasso Crew, a podcast in which we discuss season 2 of the Apple Plus series, Ted Lasso. I'm your host, Dr. Scott Jordan, aka Zombie Scotty, cognitive psychologist, philosopher from Illinois State University. And tonight we discuss episode 7, Headspace, and episode 8, Man City. So, fellow members of the Lasso Crew, please say hello and tell the audience a little something about who you are. And we will start off with our newbie, the one, the only real Shigeta.
Thank you so much. I think I prefer Ringer for the last
Ringer. Oh, okay.
Season.
There's some kind of drill we go through with newbies. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, I'm Rio Shigeta, student of the human condition and actor at large here in Chicago.
Excellent. And how about you, Montien?
Hi, Montien Miller. I'm a registered nurse and IT analyst and TV enthusiast.
And you, Tatsu?
Tatsu Shigeta. I'm a PhD student, also a data science enthusiast working at a tech company. And football is life.
Love it. And how about you, Kerri?
I'm Kerri Morris, and I am a professor at Governor State University. I teach writing and rhetoric.
Okay, and are we going to have the pleasure of Niambi joining us this evening?
Yay!
Well, hold on if I turn my mic off. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Niambi, and I am a federal worker by day, television enthusiast at night.
Fantastic. So can we just all agree that this was the best 2-episode segment of the series, top to bottom? Can we all agree that this episode 8 was the Dart episode from last season? It's just everything kind of built to this boom, and there were like 3 or 4 punches, man. So look, here's how we do it. We all discuss favorite lines, favorite characters, favorite scenes. So I'm just going to throw it out to the floor. Somebody jump on in.
I mean,
I'll start with something. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay. Firstborn, first to talk. Should I mention I'm Tatsu's older brother?
There you go.
So I think the first thing I should mention is probably one of the things I laughed at the most. We'll keep it relatively light, which was when Higgins and Rebecca and Keeley are in the office and they're talking about Keeley's problem of Roy being around too much. And of course, just as she's saying, he's like my shadow, he's everywhere. Roy walks into the room and Higgins just and Rebecca jumps right in with a little bit of scatting. An incredible singer, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And he walks in, usual Roy Kent. We talking about me? And they're like, who is it? Yeah, it's Keeley. He was like, yeah, we were. Can't tell a lie, that girl. And they're like, the best part though is Roy Kent's like, I don't give a fuck, or whatever it is he says. Oops, can I curse on here?
Yeah, so if you're quoting the characters, feel free.
All right.
Half of what he says, so.
Yeah. And Roy leaves, and the best part, Higgins counts down a 1, 2, 3, and they just start scatting again for no apparent reason. And that's probably about the lightest, funniest thing that happens in these 2 episodes, because everything else is just so like visceral and like to the core of humanity. Yeah. So I wanted to start with that.
Well, I'd like to tag team onto that. I also loved the follow-up scene where they're also talking about Roy, and she is in with the boots smoking and using one of the boots as an ashtray. It was just hysterical. And then slowly more and more people seem to be in.
Yeah.
I love it. It was very funny.
What I also love about the scene you mentioned with them talking about Roy and the kind of scatting is, they earned the ability to be that silly, right? They because that's not all they're going to do. And it's just like, okay, here's the calm before the storm, and
Yes.
they earned it, and I love comedy that's earned. Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about
Yeah, please.
Higgins and Keely and Rebecca, I actually like where they were kind of going over that text message, the banter message that Rebecca hadn't replied to in a few days, and she was trying to decide what to say in response. And Keely was urging her on, but then Rebecca goes, you know, all relationships are a nightmare. and then, she's having all this angst about her relationships and why they're hard and they're nightmarish. And then Higgins replies, my relationship is the oxygen that gives me life. And then Rebecca says, apart from Leslie's, which is a bloody greeting card of some kind. So that lighthearted banter that you're talking about was kind of going on back and forth between them, like you said, before the darkness came.
Yeah.
You gotta love like Higgins, just like ever-present positivity, like he's always positive about everything. You find him in a broom closet, and he's like, yeah, if I ever spill my tea or anything like that, I've got stuff to clean it here. So
that's fantastic. Okay. Door open or door closed? Close, please. I tend to get fewer questions.
Good scene.
So
I was not anticipating him being in that class.
No. That bordered on Python. That bordered on Python.
Yes.
But it is a comedic counterpoint to like what's actually going on there, which is Jamie having to order tickets for his dad, who will be rooting for the other team.
Yeah.
They already have a bad relationship, and he has to do
Yeah. I have to say, I didn't. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
And bug. Just bug, like the insect. The animal. 1G. Bug.
I went online or saw something on in a thing called the Ted Lasso discussion group, where someone was posting all the inspirations for Jamie Tartt's haircut, Grealish, and then people started listing all these favorite soccer players. Yeah. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Yeah.
Please.
Are you okay with?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say something about my favorite character. All season for me, it's been Roy, and it just slowly started happening in the first season, and then he's just the anchor, I think, now for the show. I mean, I think he's the heart of the show. But I think Rebecca has slowly gone through this trajectory where she and Roy are the two sane people. I mean, she says to Keely, I don't remember because I didn't write it down, but she says, don't audition your comments, say them directly to Roy. And it was like, oh my gosh, this woman is so together, and it made me just hate Rupert so much more. I mean, it was just like, what a jerk. You let this woman go. I mean, she's quality material we've got here. So, I mean, I just love that. She says, don't audition your complaints. So she and Roy for me they're just what I wait for and look for in this show now.
Yes. I gotta say, I didn't realize episode 8 was called Man City until tonight. And of course, now it's just beautifully poetic, after everything they did. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll for that, I mean, going into Roy's character, which is really kind of Roy just finding out things about himself that were already kind of there. I love the scene with Phoebe getting in trouble in the Man City episode. Like, just what a perfect lesson. And from that scene, as Roy's figuring out, like, I might be a bad influence, and I probably need to address this. And it's just it was so beautiful when when he's like, I feel like I'm probably infect you with the worst parts of me. And she responds with, I'm as good as the best of you. Like,
No.
what a great line, you know?
It was so
I mean, you know,
sweet.
it's all the cheese, but like, I just thought it was such a good line, you know?
And then
It was.
I bet, yeah.
And then
Like,
they
I'm
end
worth
that,
something. Yeah.
they end that scene with her saying, will you play dragons and princesses with me? And then he says, can I be the dragon this time?
Well,
Such a great.
just before that, when she says, I'm as good as the best of you, maybe we can stop swearing together. He says, fuck you. That was beautiful because it's not what they really peeled out of Roy against Jamie's father and Ted's father was this gruffness as a character.
Yeah.
Right. It's not all that he is. And, you know, all of us, well, I'm not going to say all of us, but I suspect all of us have had gruff moments with parents. And that's not all that they are. And, you know, I just love the fact that they had the courage for her to say, maybe we could stop swearing. And he said, fuck you. I just thought that was bold writing. I mean, I would never admit to doing anything like that myself.
He's just all over
I
the
loved
place.
it. I thought that was almost the dart scene. I mean, the Jamie Tart locker room scene, that was huge. But that little Roy Phoebe moment when they're leaving the room, the classroom, and the teacher goes, fucking glitter. Then she gives Roy this look as she's walking out, like, that's a good guy. You know, very well done.
The expletives are part of him. You know, there's that scene where they're on the pitch and you know, he calls out Jamie for something and they all gather in a huddle and Jamie's like, I had to give him room. And I think he's talking about Jan Maas and he's like, what I needed to do right there to help him was to give him room. And obviously he's talking directly to Roy's head about Keeley. And how does he respond? It's not like a whole realization. You don't get, what do we get? Fuck. And he just walks away. That's it. There's a lot of expletives in this episode for you.
Well, but it's apropos, you know,
yes.
and I appreciate them having the courage to just put it out there like that.
Yes,
you know?
but then he gets it and he shows it when he has that scene with Keeley with the bath and the music. I was falling in love. I was like,
Sade, a lot of candles.
Exactly. And that song, by the way, off that album. Oh my God. Fantastic stuff.
By your side, please. I could probably sing the whole thing right now. Yeah. It was so sexy. It was so hot. I was like, you know what? Yes.
And he leaves like the sexiest scene probably of the season, and he's just gone. He's like, you do you.
Yes.
So correct.
It was great.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Jan Maas, or as Jamie calls him, John Maas. The haircut scene. I love it.
Oh God. Oh my God.
Why are they picking on the Dutch guy, man?
Yeah, like I feel like they hadn't like highlighted, you know, the captain at all, you know. And so this was his scene. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. He's like getting ready, and he's like, and then Yamas is like, "What's the big?" Everybody's like,
"What's like shit?"
Shut the fuck up, Yamas.
Everybody has a friend like that. I mean, I have a friend like that who y'all in a conversation and they just lost. It's like, really, like, why are you the one that's lost? You the only
and read the room.
Catch you up now.
Carry the room.
Yeah. No, it reminds me of Danny from The Great Lebowski, or The Big Lebowski.
Oh yeah,
Donnie. Just always there, but never there, right?
Yep.
So y'all talking about all these other people, but I still love me some Ted Lasso. So I appreciated what made me laugh out of them that stick out is when he was drinking that damn water in the doctor's apartment.
That was so good.
It was
Like a full minute.
It was like awkward. And it was so simple because he really was not trying to leave her apartment. Like
No.
he really was trying to think of any reason to stay, which remind me of kids like they don't want to go to bed and they like, can I get some water? And then like, okay, fine, like you can have water. And then he took like his sweet time. And I was like, wait a minute, so he gonna drink the whole glass. So you gonna drink the whole glass. And then he had the gulps too. I was like, you gonna gulp it out at the same, okay. And she was just looking at him like, really, this is what we doing right now.
They walk in and the first thing she says is, okay, thank you for walking me to my place. You can go. And he's like, yep, that's the fifth time you said that.
I really enjoyed what they did with those two characters these last two episodes, because when he finally goes into her to talk, and the little chemical bird is oscillating on the table, and you can basically see it in his behavior. Maybe a little heavy-handed. I don't really care because it worked. Because there's the moment where he puts his finger on the beak and it stops, and he stops moving. Doesn't disclose anything, if I remember. I think he got up and walked out shortly thereafter. But isn't that also the episode where he came in and she goes, I'm pretty upset with you.
Yeah.
So he goes in 3 times and each of them are distinctly different. And the last one is probably my favorite scene of all the 2 episodes. And the first one, he comes in and he can't stop fidgeting.
Right.
Like he will do everything except sit down and do therapy. You know? He'll reposition himself. He's making jokes, and he just can't. He's playing with a bird, and then he just can't handle it when she's like, "Don't worry." And now we do the talking. He just goes. Then he comes back the second time, and actually later I'm interested to get more of the psychologist view of this, because I'm pretty much a layman when it comes to that sort of thing. Then he comes in like guns blazing, basically, and that's where he basically insults her and her profession. Like, you know, you charge by the hour, but you only work for 50 minutes, and you only care about what. And the insinuation is she only cares about money, not about the people. I mean, I think the first words out of his mouth is, "You don't know me, you don't care about me, we're not friends." And then he storms out. And we're just like, whoa,
right?
And he did a full Tyra Banks on her.
And it's so much like overt, blatant negativity that we have not seen from Ted, and so we're finally scratching, through layers here. And then, I mean, already with the first one, we're seeing that like the positivity, all the jokes, the optimism is a facade. Then the second layer, there's a lot of anger and angst, and then the third layer, he comes in and she says, "I was expecting you." Doesn't even look up. And he says, "Why is that?" And she says, "Because you said you're not a quitter." And then they sit down. She tells him, I was offended. I was upset by what you told me. And they have this like great conversation. I'm going to try and find, because some of my favorite quotes are in this third time that he comes in. And she says, "Self-care can be scary. Fight or flight is a natural response. You just happen to do both. Impressive range, really." And then he makes a joke about Glenn Close, and and then he says, "Maybe I'm afraid of the truth." And she says to that, "The truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off."
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's that Gloria Steinem quote that I think she's quoting James Garfield. And then he says, "Maybe I should call you the truth." And to that she says, "I can't be your mentor without occasionally being your tormentor."
Yes.
And he's like, "I like that." But then they actually get into it. I love it. Just like,
well, what I think they were doing really well across those 3 iterations were, these are things that he wanted to say, but he'd been trained not to. And so if you've ever noticed, when someone's about to say something they don't want to say, there's a lot of anxiety. And so it comes out angry, when really what's happening is they're just up against a border that they don't want to cross. And so the anxiety comes out as anger. I find this when I have to tell someone bad news, I'm pre-empathizing, and I have their anxiety in me already. And as soon as I start talking, they think I'm mad, right? And it's like, Scott, you got to learn how to just be calm and then react to them. But those thresholds are real, and they nailed it. The oscillations he was going through, then the final chill, just brilliant stuff.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it, Scott, because you was fussing about how they was taking too long, and I told you that seemed more real, that they was taking their time. It didn't make sense. He was all of a sudden just going to.
Now wait a minute. I never said they weren't going fast enough.
Yes, he was like, they wasting that character. I'm sick of this. She be popping in and popping out. It ain't enough. We just felt like
I did want more.
All right. Can we all agree? Can we all agree that the Christmas episode was just
Okay, it was fine. It had so many great Christmas movie references. I love with Phoebe with the cards,
They earned it.
I get it.
And the thing is, you'll be able to go in and watch that Christmas episode independent of the show, just like you can go watch the Thanksgiving episode from Aziz. Master of None. Oh my God, there's a Thanksgiving episode in season 2 that is off the hook. You can watch it and not know anything about the show. One of the best things I've ever seen. Yeah.
That's funny.
I mean, isn't it and maybe I'm showing my ignorance here, but isn't it sort of par for the course with British shows to have like a Christmas episode? I know that Doctor Who does it. There's always
it's par for the course for American series as well.
I guess so.
Top shows have a Christmas show, and
I feel like they have a season break around that time usually with shows, and so like the comeback episode is usually the Christmas episode. Maybe it was a play on that. I don't know. Maybe. And Sharon's not in it at all, by the way. Dr. Fieldstone. Not in it for a second. I wonder if it was filmed out of. It's always filmed out of seconds, but
I think maybe they were distracting us. Like, here's this like unrelated, like just lighthearted episode because we're gonna throw down in the next few. But like to bring it back to the two of them, we figure out that they're two sides of the same coin, right? Actually, very similar. I love that they kind of bring in this idea that everybody can use somebody to talk to, right? Like Sharon has her own therapist, and I love when her therapist is like, you're doing the exact same thing he is. You do it with your intelligence, not with jokes. It's so true. But the bike scene and what happens afterwards is huge. But I do love that bike scene when she's riding, she's just like bossing around, and she's just,
your dog hates that sweater.
Your dog hates that sweater.
Exactly. I love it. Yeah, I dig what they did. I totally dig the idea of therapists having therapists. I think a lot of occupations, mental health, military, all of these should have required, even the medical profession should have required therapy as part of the gig, right? Because there's so much trauma you're dealing with. What I was a little concerned about was equivocating her expertise. I do hope that they show that she knows what she's doing more than he does when it comes to this kind of helping people. Otherwise, they're just going to say, he's an expert at it in football or sports, and she's an expert in it in therapy. And I don't think, I wouldn't want that to work. There's an expertise she has that he doesn't.
I don't think that they're going to end up with that conclusion, because remember when he has his panic attack? It happens right at the point where Roy and Nate have taken over coaching duties. And Roy is talking to some of the players, and they're very, they're responding to him. And I think part of what's going on there is he suddenly realizes, I may not be needed. Maybe bringing anything to the table. I don't think he's nearly as sophisticated as he thinks he is.
And what they also do in that scene is, as he's sitting there going to his panic attack, he's remembering hearing Jamie's father chew him out at the end of the first season. So that couples with this trigger of Jamie and his dad in the final scene here. So,
and I don't think Sharon. I think Sharon's much more on top of this. I mean, I think she's seen this coming. I think she's reading him like a book. You know, I don't think she's surprised in the least.
As are we.
But I do understand.
That was a joke,
concern. When we see her stark corporate apartment and all we see in there are empty bottles, I think we're sort of led to believe that maybe she's, you know, lonely, self-medicating, and she's gonna have problems that Ted's gonna solve. I don't think that's the case. I think we get little victories with Ted and his capabilities, but ultimately he's not a qualified football coach. He's not a therapist. He can't even deal with his own problems. The best he can do, and the best Ted does in general, is help people on a superficial level. And usually it's go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that you know, Rebecca will go to him and call him, text him, whatever, say I need a pep talk or something like that. But it's not like the deep levels of you know, self-actualization. All he's doing is like covering things up with a happy veneer, which, as we know, you know, I think toxic optimism is.
I think that's unfair. I think he's doing more than that. I think he creates community. I think he's excellent at building community and
Jimmy Stewart from
bringing
It's a
people
Wonderful
together,
Life.
And I think that's a real gift. I don't think just anyone brings that along with them, and I think that you know he's able to see what's going on with people. I mean, I think he really gets Jamie Tart. You know, he's got insight there. He's
that might be a little bit different, though.
Really think that he is. Now, is the I mean, the thing that I think we've been kind of misled by is the optimism. I don't think the optimism is what Ted brings to the table. I think what Ted brings to the table is he loves people and he knows how to provide the catalyst for community. And I just think I mean, I think particularly since the pandemic and we've been so isolated from each other. I mean, I think that is the message of Ted Lasso, is that, you know, we need each other. And I think he's good at establishing that and having other people see that they need that. And I think that's very deep and very important. I don't know if Sharon's going to give him credit for it, but my guess is he's not even that self-aware.
Well, I think what Sharon's going to show him is, this is why even though they made the Christmas episode later, putting It's a Wonderful Life in there was perfect, because you don't have to be everything to be a person. You can actually be very vulnerable if you're a people person. As a matter of fact, most people who are people persons are vulnerable, which is precisely why they're people persons. They can take on emotion, they can take on thoughts, they can be there for you, but that doesn't mean they got their stuff sorted out. So there's other people in the world to take care of them, right? You don't have to be everything. And I think Sharon knows that. And I think she loves his optimism. And she also knows that there are costs to being who he is. And she's going to try to help him understand, or I don't know, decide what he might want to do different. But after we had our conversation about the Christmas episode, I said, yeah, you can be an optimist. You can be a people person, but that doesn't mean you got everything else figured out. You can be weak as hell and a whole bunch of other stuff, and that makes you vulnerable, and that's where you can go down. So I like, and I'll say this and shut up. What I liked about that is it goes to your point, Kerri, about community. I don't have to be everything, but what we do need is diverse expertise, right? We do need people who are great at different things, and then we just got to learn how to let them lead us on those things when we're in those spaces, instead of thinking like, nope, I have to lead everywhere. I have to be in charge. And
I think one of the things that's very helpful, and I see this in working with students, is that if you ask students, I teach writing, if what they don't do well with writing, they can write you pages in response to what they don't do well. If you ask them what they do well in writing, it's just like I'm a good speller. You know, I mean, that's all they'll come up with. And I don't think we're taught to be self-aware and really to accept that, wow, this is what I bring to the table. These are these good things about me. And I think that knowing those things would help out. I mean, I think another darkness that we're going to see is, I think Nate is going to spin. I think he's going to spiral down to the very bottom of the well by the end of the season. I think he is in real trouble.
I got him pegged as Anakin Skywalker. I got him pegged as Anakin because
interesting.
In episode 7, he went totally dark, and I called it out in my notes because first he shows up all happy and joyous after they won, and he got the positive press release, you know, and he really wanted his parental approval, right? You could see that. But what does his dad do? Shuts it down. I mean, his dad shuts it down with that comment about him, you know, not needing to get approval and all of that, and not thinking too highly of yourself, however he phrased it. I wrote it somewhere in my notes. But then later, he goes in on Colin, right? And then Colin comes to confront him about it, and he gets so dark. And I did write all of that down because, he land blasted Kit Man too, you know, about the Wonder Kid T-shirt and everything.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
you know, he put on the front like, this is great.
Do you have the line written down? Do you have the line written down where he compares Colin to
oh my God,
a painter of the
he when Colin came into the office, he told Colin that he was I'm paraphrasing, but he said he was basically like a painting that hangs in the Holiday Inn, and compared Jamie and Danny to a Gauguin or a Picasso, which I thought was funny because then Colin goes, "What? They're pedophiles?" You know, he was comparing it. They're like a Picasso and a Gauguin, and he was like, "What, a pedophile?" He's like, "No. You know, you're like a painting that hangs at the Holiday Inn, and you know, their works are at the museums, you know." And it was basically he was really trying to crush his spirit. But what I really loved about that scene was Coach Beard heard it. And then he turned around and called Nate on that. He was like, "You were rude to Colin." And he kind of like backed down. He said it was personal and weird. He said, "Don't do it again." He said, "Do better." He said, because then Nate kind of backs down. He's like, are you going to tell Coach Ted? You know, he's like, "No, this is between you and me." He said, "Do better." And then he did the so then, you know, he was basically like dismissed him, and he got so flustered that he left his own office. And when he realized he stepped out of his own office and turned around, somehow Coach Beard did this ninja act and he was totally gone out the office. But it was a really powerful scene because, you know, it showed, like, even when he went and told off the Kit Man, they didn't even show it on camera. You just heard his voice and the way he was going in on him. And it was so mean and so cruel and so harsh. And it was like, if you ever do that to me, and I was like, oh my God, like, who is this guy?
His father.
You know, but
playing with his new
dad
lightsaber
is dismissive. You never see his dad really saying anything to him. But I guess that cold, dismissive behavior, like when he was reading a newspaper and he really wanted his dad to say something positive. Like the mom came over and was like, "Oh, my little boy, the wonder kid," you know. And his dad was like, "Shh," you know.
And then doesn't Rojas say, "No, he's just an injured butterfly" about Nate? And I just it's like, oh, Rojas, that's exactly what he is. He's an injured butterfly. But man, who
just came out of his cocoon,
right? Can I digress a minute? Because I had a thought about how I perceive Ted going to Dr. Sharon's apartment when he saw the like liquor bottles and he was looking around and being nosy and stuff. Like, I just took it to where, back to what her therapist was saying, as far as like him seeing her apartment and seeing how she was living was more humanizing her and making her more relatable to him, because the whole thing is building up to him being able to open up to her, which is not going to happen until she kind of break down some of her walls for him. So I think that I took it when he saw the liquor bottles, like, oh shit, they was sharing drink. Like, that's how I took it. Like, because she's always, right, she always like super intelligent and stoic, and I don't eat sugar, and you know, like I don't partake in these human things. And so when he came in and saw she had wine and liquor, he was like, oh, okay, well, let me look around and see what else she got going on in here. Like,
that's why I go drinking with anybody who thinks I might have any talent, just so they know that, you know, I'm a human.
But I took it that it made her a little more relatable for him, that he saw like, oh, she's not just this uptight, stuffy, you know, doctor lady. Like, she actually has a human side that she doesn't really let him in on, which is why when he finally heard her laugh, where he actually made her laugh, he was like, oh, that's what your laugh sound like.
Oh my God.
I
And
got
those
in there.
messages she left on his
Those
phone.
messages.
West Side Story.
The West
Both
Side
roles.
You did both
You
parts.
you did the whole first half.
She was on them good painkillers, because she was going in on him with them messages. Like,
I love
like,
it.
I'm so sorry. He was like, but it was a little bit of truth in there. Like,
You know,
but-
I laughed at all that when it was going on because it's great comedy. And now that we're talking about it, there would be something about her that would irritate her a little bit about him. And it wouldn't just be she doesn't like him. It's something in her that he speaks to that just bugs the hell out of her. And maybe it's something like, I'm sick and tired of you pseudo therapists trying to act like you know how to get people through stuff. I went through my 20s getting my skill to get to this point, and I'm sick of you posers. That's, you know, the little vibe there. So I don't know. We'll see.
Don't you love that, like, after a therapist is like, you're gonna have to meet him halfway, and she's reading the middle passage.
I have to ask, I don't know anything about that book, but I figured it was.
I don't either.
I
just thought it was like, I need to address this intellectually. Like, I need to read
The middle passage is about slavery.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
From
So, I
misery
mean, it's a
to
dark-
meaning in midlife.
there's a darkness to that as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the other one is You Matter, poetry by Dimon. There's a book underneath it. Yeah,
I love it.
I thought that might be.
So are we gonna talk about the ship or not?
The ship.
Of course,
Oh,
we're going to talk about it. We're kind of
I
getting
mean,
there. We're just kind of getting
I feel
there.
like that's one of the best conclusions, the tastiest
goodness.
morsel that we get of satisfaction.
Yeah.
There are so many open-ended loose threads, but like we do at least get the satisfaction of that ship. It is cute. Well, then again, it's still left worrisome. I mean, let's jump into it, I guess.
Is it worrisome?
So it's
happening.
Rebecca
Ain't no worries.
and Sam, right? And so, I mean,
Back to Cheers, right?
and I had to like ask myself, why do I want this to work? Why do I want them to work? And I'm like, well, subjectively, I like them. I like Sam. He's a nice guy. I like Rebecca. She's this strong, independent woman that has a softer side, that's human. Like she interacts with everyone differently, but all of the interactions end up well. By this point of the show, like we like her. Everything is going towards the direction of she's a good person. We like her. And Sam, same thing. Like he's had that little victory of the oil company being out of its home country and all of that. Like where everything that happens lead us to want to support these two characters. And so of course they have this meet cute at the restaurant, and oh my God, you know, Sam's kind of amused. Rebecca's horrified. But he gets her to stay, and then the montage shows that they have.
Wait, before you go any further, it's the 70s love song. I don't care when that song was written. That was such a 70s love song. And it's like totally Ted Sudeikis probably said, this is the song we're going to play while they're eating in the restaurant because it was so 70s sappy, so on target. I'm sorry, I had to interrupt.
And no, yeah, and Rebecca would know that. Sam would not, probably. And we'll sort of get to that. And here's we'll sort of jump forward, I think, to the doorstep where as you like to say, Scott, they smack us with the 180s back and forth. Like you have one expectation. It's not, are they gonna kiss? No. Oh no. Dude. She kisses him. Are they gonna go in? No. But and like we get everything that we need out of it. Yeah, but and then at the very end, with her, she sees them on the TV. She texts him. He texts her address. She opens the door. He's there. Are you kidding me? Like we just watched a romantic comedy.
Well, the thing is, she when she texts him, there's absolutely no pensiveness. She texts him and she's ready to go. He immediately writes back, and one of the most drop dead sexy scenes ever. When she opens the door and he's there, and she goes, "Why'd you send me your address?" He said, "Well, for next time." So, dude is smooth, man. Dude knows.
Very smooth.
But I like how she internalized that he was talking to her, even though he was talking about football, where he's talking about trying, and you have to try and give it your best effort, and why not? And then I hear Keely voice in her head like, "Why you playing? Go get it." So I was glad that she actually like made the jump. I wasn't surprised that Sam was at the door because Sam was trying to come through the first day when he was like, "Why don't you just stay? You know, we just two people who happen to be at the same place, like, we hungry, so let's just do this." And then he was like trying to go in for the kiss. Sam's like, "Look, I'm cool. Like, I don't care who you are. I still like you. I'm still trying to get with you." So Sam was still on his game the whole time.
The whole time.
Don't get it twisted. I'm still trying to get at you.
But we do have to talk about how she's his boss.
Of course.
Like that,
because she's going to have to trade him at the end of the season.
Is that what we're leading up to? Like, is that what
I don't care.
If the roles were switched, think about it. Like if this was a man and a woman in her 20s whose career depends on decisions that her boss makes, like we wouldn't be having the same reaction, I think, you know.
But it happens
all the time. That's the come up. Come on now.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, that's why it has to be this way though, right? Because like, you know, all that like stuff that happened before the show happened with what's his face, her ex-husband, you know, and like it's just Rupert. And like we had to sit through that whole thing where like he's dating this, you know, 20-something model or whatever. And like, you know, that's the typical thing. And like, you know, what this show does time and time again is, you know, contradict your expectations. Like, you know, like they make you have to be okay with it, right?
So cougars
but I'm
real,
not.
And Rebecca is fine. I'm sorry.
That's true.
Like it's cougars out there, and Rebecca's fine. It's not like she's struggling. Rebecca look good, so why wouldn't he go after her? If I was mad, I'd go after Rebecca. Did you see her booty in the Christmas episode?
Oh, I am not disagreeing with anything you're saying right now.
I plead the fifth.
Her wardrobe, by the way, my God, like every single dress she wears.
My goodness.
But we got to think about it. I think it's something that has to get resolved, you know?
Well,
I'm not happy with the relationship.
She's going to take crap for it. It's going to go on social media. And just like a guy would get called out on having a relationship with a female employee 20 years younger, she's going to get called out. And,
I think she should be called out. I think that's totally irresponsible to have a relationship with someone. I mean, just as a professional who works with a lot of 19 and 20-year-old boys, oh yeah, they can be very, very nice looking, but they are off limits. And particularly when you are hiring and firing, and not okay. It's not okay at all.
What you just explained is why it's going to be easier for her to trade him.
Yeah, we
Right,
talked about
because they're
that.
I predict they're gonna have to trade him because they ain't got no money, right? And they're not gonna
Yeah.
get any new players. Higgins blew the deadline on the Brazilian
Oh,
fullback.
that's right. Yeah.
I love that.
I know one
So-
other person that would be upset about that relationship. Her goddaughter, Nora. Remember, Nora is the one that had a crush on Obasanya.
Oh
Who
yeah.
snapped?
Oh, I forgot about
That could-
that.
Yeah.
All kinds of
Good
hell to
next
pay for that love.
That kind of didn't go anywhere, did it?
She's
But
got to
no,
come
yeah.
They're
back.
two consenting adults, so
You're gonna
I
bring her
don't
back.
I have a problem with it. It ain't like she's some kind of creepy predator or something. Like they didn't even know about each other. They, linked up intellectually. So I feel like how you come into something, how it starts, the foundation of it matters. So I don't look
That's
at
true.
it as, oh, like it's messed up because they work together and all of that. It's like, first of all, they didn't even know. They weren't aware of that. And okay, put that aside. Like we truly like each other. We feeling each other. She really genuinely likes him, and he truly genuinely likes her. And after all the crap that she done been through, like I want her to get some. I mean, she was sleeping with that other young thing. Wasn't nobody mad about that. So why can't she get some from Sam? Have her little
And-
child.
So
It's okay.
I think what they're doing is putting us in the state you're describing, in that as we
Yeah.
see this as a truly loving relationship, and then when it gets canceled in the Twitterverse, we're going to learn something about the Twitterverse that we tend not to talk about, right? Because what happens in the Twitterverse is stuff gets canceled on a Twitter story, not a lived life, not a lived love, and people's lives get destroyed and ruined basically by rumor and gossip. When in
Based on a
fact they've
headline.
shown us they love each other.
Maybe.
And
Yeah.
so
So-
Maybe.
I mean, I agree with the love and it's there. It's just, I think they're going to use that as a way to say something about.
I don't want to hijack the conversation, but Twitter is some of the ways women have been able to save themselves from people like Harvey Weinstein.
I'm not even saying Twitter's evil. What I'm saying is the Twitterverse, right?
Well,
And
the
it's-
Twitterverse was very empowering for women and for
but it
for lots
also
of
does
folks.
things that destroy people's lives. I mean, it's not a good or bad thing. It's basically the ability to talk in public and be heard in ways you couldn't 20 years ago.
Anonymously.
Yeah, anonymously.
no,
Like,
not necessarily.
Semi-anonymously, I guess.
It
if there's
depends
a limit.
on the person and who has courage. I mean, I think you'll find that more women use their actual names, and that the male trolls are the ones who don't identify themselves on Twitter. I mean, I just very rarely interact with a woman on Twitter who I don't know who she is and what her job is. But man, the men come out of the woodwork on stuff and just go after women, and totally anonymous.
But I think that
pages.
this is the ultimate banter commercial, because the whole thing is that banter is the sponsor for the team, and you have the team owner and a player who met through banter
there you go.
and legitimately have like a for real relationship. So I
That's
think
Keely
that
talking.
social media wise, it could go either way, because you could flip that and be like, look, boom, this can happen to you. Look at how this relationship flourished. And that's going to show even more so of how banter actually works. These two people would have never looked at each other and been like, yo, let's come through. But because they met on banter, they was able to link up. So
I love what
think
you're saying.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's their response.
I think that's how they're going to be saved. And before that, what's going down is the fact that she is his boss. And yeah, in the Twitterverse, in the news, everywhere else, people are going to judge them for that. Regardless of how it came to be, right? Because they know nothing about that backstory. So
Right.
that's going to happen. It's going to explode, like a lot of things are about to explode, because we know how much Rebecca cares about what the press thinks. We
Yeah.
know how much she cares about what Twitter thinks, and that's going to hit her hard.
But
What I love
Sam's
about-
so mature. Look how Sam responds to things. It's not like he's a young, flunky kind of kid. He's
Right.
actually
Mature
like
21.
super mature and very articulate and communicating his feelings about things. So I feel like if anybody can handle that pressure, it could be Sam. I
No,
mean,
I-
y'all said he was quoting that fancy writer person when I thought
I was going to say, anyone who quotes Rilke.
Yeah. I do think you're right. I think they're going to get scathed in public. They're going to come back with Keeley saying, guys, just put the story out there, make it real, step into this space bravely, not apologetically, not defensively. And as they do that, they're going to teach us something about how to handle ourselves in this space, where people can say whatever they want about you at any point. And good for Ted Lasso. I'm meaning the show, not the character. I love it. No, yeah.
So what do we think about that full disclosure scene with the men, you know, when Ted finally tells them why he really left the game, and then everyone starts having all of this stuff.
Man City.
Man City.
The unburdening.
Well,
wait a minute, I got something to share too.
I feel like it was less the content and more the context, just where, you know, it was basically Beard and I think it's Higgins that really instigates it, and Nathan in the moment just saying, hey, we understand, here's something, you know, I'm Spartacus, is that the one?
Yes.
Where, you know, we get it.
Yes.
And we empathize, and because those things that they say aren't really relevant to the plot. It's nothing that's been like discussed beforehand, and I don't think it's going to be all that relevant later on. It's just a matter of like them saying yes, 1, 2, 3 buts. Let's go.
Yeah, it's moving a relationship into the next level where you're revealing vulnerabilities, which is precisely what Fieldstone did when she called Ted and said, you know, she was scared. That's her happy place. And of course, it ends with him calling her, you know, everybody expressing vulnerabilities. You know, that's kind of how we get to deep friendships, is maximum exclusivity through maximum vulnerability. We don't run around telling everybody our weaknesses. We're very careful about who we pick. And then we feel like we're in an exceptional relationship when people know our weakest stuff and they're still our friend. They still love us.
Which makes me think of, and I don't know if anyone's mentioned this already, if I missed it, if you did, I think that scene where Roy hugs Jamie is so powerful. You know, I mean, that is well earned.
Exactly.
You know, I mean,
well earned.
Yeah. I mean, Roy did not do that without a lot of thought. And I think we suddenly see Jamie for this sad little boy, you know, that he is. And then here's Roy being the dad he doesn't have, you know.
But that's the thing for the context of that whole episode, is that Roy is the father.
Yeah.
Right.
He was the dad throughout the episode.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because he does it for his niece, you know, and not in like a daddy, like creepy sort of way, but he's there for Keeley in a, you know, supporting lover kind of way. Like he's the support for people. And even though you wouldn't look at him and immediately think that he's that foundation and that support for people, but he truly is. The same way that he supported the captain with getting him to lift up his spirits. Like he's the dad throughout the show and supporting everybody. So I thought that it made a lot of sense for the person who would go to Jamie in that moment to support him and empathize with him would be what's your child name? Roy.
I think we also have to break down that scene a little more, because there's so many things going on there that was so good. I mean, like, how do people react to, you know, a stressful situation where, you know, you either act or you don't, you fight or flight. In Ted's case, it was clearly fight, because he was feeling all the things and he could not act even if he wanted to. And as big as Roy going in for the hug there was, it's also huge that out of everybody, Beard is the one that takes the dad away. He knows exactly when it needs to happen.
Yep.
Just gets them out of there.
That's right.
And he's the muscle. He is the only person that acts on the situation, right? It could have been much worse.
After the punch, but
After the punch.
And he's the one who walks away and tells Ted, I can't be here. I don't want to be with you guys. And then he says to Ted, do you want to come with me? Beard's messed up.
We got to talk about
Beard's
Beard.
way messed up.
I'm so worried about Weird.
The next episode.
I am so excited for this episode.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so good.
What is it called? Beard After Hours?
Oh
Beard
my
After
God.
Hours.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so concerned about what's gonna happen. Like, if I were to name a favorite character, it's got to be Beard. You know, the straight man throughout. He's sort of like the Obi-Wan of the show.
He's the tall Yoda.
He's the tall Yoda.
He certainly is. You know, I'm going to say something that
Who
may
is
not
Obi-Wan? Yeah.
Yeah, something that may not.
He's Obi-Wan to Nate's Anakin. It's true.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's something of one of the things that I'm going to say I personally very much love about the Roy Kent character is he tells his niece, fuck you, while he's the only person who goes and hugs Jamie. What this means, the story they're telling us is yelling does not mean you're a bad person. Cussing does not mean you're a bad person. Because when you raise kids, they make you lose your mind. I'm just going to say. And things get said in households. I'll tell you what, if we actually start taping what people say in their households, the species will go insane, because those spaces where you release that anxiety, you're doing it there because that's your family, it's not your job. So what I love about is they're taking Roy Kent into these spaces, and he's being this gruff person that we occasionally live with in our homes. But he's loving. So it's dangerous what I'm saying, because it may make it sound like being mean means you're a good father. But what they've done so well is juxtapose it against different versions of male fatherness. And Kent is not masculine, the toxic masculinity. It's almost as if we're reading a paper on what is toxic masculinity.
Yep.
Not this. Well,
Yep.
it's this, but it's not this. And I thought, damn. Emmy.
No,
Right
Roy
now,
is definitely not toxic masculinity. Definitely not.
No.
so all those times I swore at my niece, I don't really feel bad about it, right? Or my kids. I took my kids out once. I had a softball game, and I was playing on St. They were probably 12 and 9, and we went out to this outdoor place, with the team, and the team was just having adult conversation, and they were swearing like adults do, and they're looking, they saw my kids, and I said, no, it's okay. They need to develop a robust linguistic palate, right? So please, let them see adults being adults. I really don't care, because the world needs to know when you're done, and words is one way to tell it.
No, I just think these were two such amazing episodes. Just so much in them.
And as you said, so well earned, so well crafted. Just boom, boom,
Very
boom, boom,
much
boom,
so.
boom, boom. Stunned. I guess at episode 7, I came home on a Friday night, and my wife and I watched it back to back. We watched it for 30 minutes. We just said, start over, watch it again, because you end with Saturday. Okay, I'll watch it 4 times. They know what they're doing. So
The soundtrack's so good, and it's so clever, right? Like the scene looking over Wembley Field, with the storm is over, and it's Oasis, which is because they're huge fans of Man City, and there's playing so Sally can't wait, so look back in anger, but kind of F you.
Yeah. And then when they're walking back in, it's Jamie who says, Richmond! He wanted to hear his voice echo in that space. I loved it. So any other final scenes, characters, things we haven't talked about?
I just want to see what happens with Coach Beard, because that whole Beard After Hours looked
Beard's wild ride, man.
Real dark.
We didn't even talk about the mushroom teas.
That was his confession at the
I love it. And then Roy said, hey, that was the palace cave.
Episodes are left?
What?
How many episodes are left?
Well, 4. If I'm understanding that there are 12 episodes and there are 4 left. However,
That
the
is not
Christmas
much time.
episode was done post. So the real plot, well, no, that'd be right. There's 4 more episodes of plot, if there are 12. The thing is that the Christmas episode is the one where they showed that they had 14 draws, 2 wins, and 2 losses.
Right.
So they did get a time jump in there, which one of you said maybe they're doing that to give us a time jump to basically let us know half the season is over, right? And we're at Boxing Day, halfway through the season. But
so now that they lost the semifinals, will they get relegated to Division One? I don't know.
It's like a different competition. So like in the Premier League, you have like the regular league, and then you also have the FA Cup. So that was the FA Cup final. So it's one of like the side competition.
Okay.
But
does
I mean,
that take
fairly,
them out of it? They don't play anymore?
No, they keep playing. The season
they're out of that tournament.
Oh, they're out of that tournament.
Well, that tournament's over. But it also means that like they're not like too far from the end of the season. I think that happens like early, like maybe February. So, and the season goes until like April. So,
guys, I'm thinking I think they've crafted this giving them a possible uplift with the FA Cup, right? Because that doesn't depend on their record. And I think they're approaching another relegation. I do think it's most of the rest of the plot's going to play out through Sam and Rebecca in terms of their relationship, how the world deals with it. And then Ted's psyche is going to be there. But I think someone's going to end up in carbonite at the end of the season, guys. It's just all
all roads lead to carbonite. There is a little tidbit.
It was pretty shocking when Ted said that his dad had committed suicide, which made sense of the previous comment he made that his dad was far harder on himself than he ever was on him. Because he had that statement kind of floating out there, and we were always wondering, like, well, what does that mean? Like, was his dad an alcoholic? Like, what happened?
I'll tell you what, if they come out and make the claim, because Ted said that happened when he was 16.
Yeah.
So assuming he's 40,
and he said to his mom,
I'm putting his dad committing suicide somewhere in the mid-90s. And the reason I did this is because there's more to come about Ted's dad, the whole issue of why, right? And if it turns out that Ted's dad lost his union job and then lost his identity, this is I'm going to say masterpiece, right? This is the dismantling of the Midwestern American white identity. And if he committed suicide in the mid-90s because he potentially lost his home or lost his union job when we were, sending all the manufacturing everywhere else in the middle of the Clinton era. There's a story that they're telling on purpose, and it's I'm gonna say it's a good story that we need to hear. So I don't know.
I was looking back at the first episode. I actually saw just a cut of it. Someone showing the dart scene, and I really was aware of the fact that he says, I played darts with my dad every Sunday until I was 16.
Yes.
And at the time, that didn't necessarily have all sorts of alarm bells or anything around it. But I think it's interesting that they knew then about this plot. I think that these story arcs have always been mapped out. In fact, I know they have, because I read an interview with the actor who plays Nate, and he said that Jason Sudeikis told him that he's got his character for season 2 and season 3 completely mapped out, and he gave him notice as to what season 2 was, but he hasn't told him what's happening in season 3. Another kind of fun fact to know and tell: Nate, the actor, does not know anything about soccer. He was studying for his PhD in like biochemical engineering when he discovered, acting. The guy who plays Roy knows nothing about soccer and doesn't particularly like it. And the person that all the actors say knows the most about it is Beard.
Of
Which
course.
just makes me laugh. It's just so great that an American is the one who really is really the soccer person on this show.
And he is the
But they
ICU
have
one.
that as the character for Ted, because Ted always saying wrong stuff, and they'll be like, "No, that's not. They're not. The field is actually bigger. No, they can't do that." And he's like, "Oh man, these rules, I can't get it right."
Oh, I was going to say the Wembley jokes was another part of this that I thought was hilarious.
The deconstruction of Ted's Wembley knowledge.
Yes, I mean, I just thought that
A
whole
place
thing.
where Freddie never played.
500 extra square
Wait a
yards
second,
or whatever.
the pitches aren't all the same size?
Yeah.
Wait
I
a
didn't
second.
know
I
that.
didn't know that actually.
It's crazy.
I did not either.
I didn't know that.
I sure didn't.
Guys, there's a
didn't know
favorite
that.
line. There's a favorite line when the first line Ted says in the hospital scene is, wait a minute. You mean I can break every bone in my body, wherever I am, and you will take care of me and you don't charge me a dime? Man, I love this country more and more every day. That is a clear political shot across the bow, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why it will not surprise me if Ted's father's suicide has something to do with his life in a union or a deconstructed way of providing for his family. Because you don't say a line like that if you're not trying to say something pro-socialism, right? You just don't. So all these little moves here and there, they're really telling a tale. It's just incredibly good. Any other
When
final
are the
comments?
Emmys? I mean, is it Emmys? Yeah. When are the Emmys given out?
They won 3.
Oh, it's already been.
The first
I
season.
think, I looked it up today,
Oh.
but none of them were. I
I know
don't
Jason
think any of
Sudeikis
them-
won Best Actor in a Comedy Series for
Well,
the
good
SAG
for him.
Awards. That was
The
earlier
SAG Awards.
this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they got 20
Mhm.
nominations.
Mm.
Do they have the Emmys
You
yet?
said 20.
They
No,
got
I looked it up.
They got 20 nominations. The show got 20 nominations.
No, I think it was Sunday night, which would have been last night, But I looked it up, and what I saw is they won 3, but it was for stuff like sound and whatever. I didn't see any, but I'll go back and look. I'm not certain. But any other final comments, please?
There is another fun fact to know and tell, which is that episode 7 and possibly others, in fact, I think at least a couple other episodes are credited as being written by Phoebe Walsh. And if you don't know who that is the actress who plays Jane, Beard's girlfriend on and off.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that. Cool.
That is
Cool.
so cool.
Found that out today. Thought it was funny.
No,
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And we all agree that this is an incredibly well-written show, right? And
Absolutely.
so to have different writers working on the same show, trying to generate continuity across all those different imaginations, I would lose myself in that environment and just live there and not eat. What a blast.
It's not like they individually write it. I think they give writing credit at different times. Because I saw an interview with a woman who, I can't remember which episode she wrote, but she was saying, it's not like I wrote the whole thing. It's just that I got writing credit for this one, because those jokes are coming from
Sudeikis. Sudeikis and Beard.
Yeah,
I can't wait for Beard's Wild Ride.
I mean, maybe not all of them, but yeah.
Well, by the way, guys, the mushroom tea joke, once that's over, they're walking out and Ted says, "Oh, so you're getting all uppity drinking tea now."
Right.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Sharon offers him tea. I don't drink that. It's garbage.
It's garbage.
Like, yeah, I didn't know how to tell you.
Just garbage. Well, give me just
3 more.
Oh yeah, they just won Emmys for creative stuff. Outstanding sound mixing for a comedy or drama series. Outstanding single camera picture editing for that the Hope That Kills You episode, and outstanding casting for a comedy series. So
I mean, it's like 4 or 5 of them were nominated for outstanding actor. I mean, they were all competing
they
against
got
each
20
other.
nominations.
Yeah. So
I mean,
that first season.
This season, I think those 2 episodes put them on the map for best show for sure.
Totally.
Like that That was so good.
You know,
I
they
hope so.
don't have they don't have a category for best earned outcome in a plot, right? But if they did,
Sounds
this
like
would
baseball.
be exactly. 'Cause
Well, and
everything-
maybe it's a thing where this is very much, I think, a 3-act play. You know,
Exactly.
We're gonna get to the end and we'll get to see
Yeah.
all of it. Schitt's Creek won all its awards at the end after.
Oh, I'm
you know,
sorry. That was the
concluded.
Creative Arts Emmy. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh,
So it's September 19th. We're a week too early.
So we're about to see then.
We're
Okay,
about
I'll
to see.
edit all of that out of the podcast.
Thank
So
you.
so actually I won't. I'm just gonna leave it all in there and we'll just suffer our knowledge of how the Emmys work.
And my
We'll be
lack of
fine.
being able to read because I was so excited.
Nobody's watching this podcast for our Emmy knowledge, I guarantee it. So. All right. Well, that about wraps it up for tonight's episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Lasso crew members, please tell the audience where they can find you on social media. And we'll start with Tatsu.
Yeah, you can find me at Tatsushi1892 on Instagram.
Fantastic. How about you, Montien?
Okay. You can find me on Twitter at NursyPoo2K2.
Fantastic. How about you, Niambi?
You can find me at Niambi Afi. That's NIAMBI-AFI.
Fantastic. How about you, Rio?
You can creep on my Twitter and Instagram at I know Rio. There's not much to see, but message me.
Fantastic. How about you, Kerri?
At Kerri K. Morris on Twitter.
Fantastic. You can find me on Twitter at dark_loops. You can find all episodes of The Lasso Crew at the Dark Loops Productions channel on YouTube. If you'd like to leave feedback about this podcast, please leave it on this YouTube page or send a message to darkloopsproductions@gmail.com. We'll be sure to read it at the end of our next episode. So there it is, from all of us to all of you. Big hugs, and remember, football is live. Bye-bye.